Hello, this is an impromptu kind of a live stream, and it's going to be pretty short. So, all it is showing you a new bit of kit that I got, and it just arrived this morning. So, you know me, I like to strike while the iron is hot. So, hopefully, you'll get a notification for this later if you miss it, because I'm at a kind of a funny hour a day. People are at work or out doing things. But people like looking at bits of art kit. And I came across this little bit of art kit that I'm going to show you online, um, and saw how it worked for other people and thought that might work for me. So the thing I got is this thing here, which is kind of a container, obviously, and it's a container for paints. And the reason I'm buying it now is because I have these paints, Jelly Gouache, which are, if I just dip into one of them here, you can see it's a soft paint, right? A gouache is always a soft paint when it's coming out of a tube, but these are called Jelly Gouache because they're in those little kind of pans open all the time. And I've been really liking them. And I'm actually doing a live stream on Friday on this, my usual Friday lunchtime live stream on doing clouds with them. Studio Ghibli, I would call it. I've seen other people calling it Ghibli as well, so I don't know which it is. Studio Ghibli clouds, and they're that's an animation studio, and they use kind of hand drawing techniques for doing backgrounds in their films, and this has inspired a lot of people online. And when I got the paints, I already liked that style, and started exploring it a bit. So I'm doing a live stream on Friday about that, and it's specifically about Studio Ghibli inspired clouds. Okay, so you can see I have the last thing I did yesterday was this composition. You can see me planning it out actually if you want on. I have a short up about it at the moment with going from me planning that figure out into placing it in the landscape because I needed to work out a few things on that. But that was done with those paints. So why suddenly using those paint outdoors, and what was I doing before? What I was doing before was bringing out watercolor sets, right? I have a little tiny watercolor set that's nice, but I've said it before that watercolor isn't my favorite medium because I think like in acrylic or oil painter, I mostly work in oils. But I had been bringing these out for doing little color notes and things, then coming back to the studio and painting. So these are watercolors, but sometimes what I do is I'll bring out a little bit of gouache with me, like this white gouache, and add white gouache to the watercolor to paint because I'm quite a tonal painter. So I'm mixing in white with a lot of sort of very bright colors. So typically, if I was doing a sky, I'd have, my blue watercolor and I might add gouache to it and some of the trunks of trees and everything. I was um, adding gouache to it. That is completely in gouache, this piece, right? And this was actually done inside because it's been raining continuously. We're on day 6, I'd say, except it cleared up briefly yesterday and I got to go out for a jog. So really only 5 days in a row, but I'm sick of the rain. So part of my using my time wisely, apart from painting indoors, which is you can always do that, is planning things for my kit for when I do go out on field expeditions to do landscape painting. So I think I can possibly improve on my watercolor situation and add more tools to what I use when I'm outside because you can't really drag out oil paints without a whole lot of hassle. And I don't have a car. So in the thumbnail, you'll see a picture of a rucksack, and that is my um, bag that I bring with me. So I have to carry it on my back when I'm going out, and I have a new bit of kit, not tested yet, a shooting stick to sit on. So that has to come out with me as well. So everything has to be very small. So this Jelly Gouache set, it does have a palette and a lid that goes on it, and I have a previous live stream, another bonus live stream where that arrived, where I was setting it up and opening it up and showing it to you properly. But that's too big to bring out. So this is why I got this small portable thing to try out those jelly gouache in the field. They could be a game changer, you know. Or I might discover that I quite like the system I had going where I have watercolors and a little bit of white gouache to add to them. But this is what it's about. It's about trying things out. So let's have a look at what this thing does, okay? And if you're wondering what that is a refill pouch for my white wash. So we're going to test out this little portable watercolor palette, basically, is what it is. And got it online, didn't I? So this has all sorts of very fancy looking clasps on the side, which I'm hoping I can open. I could open it a minute ago, but I know I had to struggle a bit to do it. There we are. It just kind of, you just pull it out like that. It was this bit I struggled at before. I wanted to open it like that, and I was afraid to just pull because I didn't know was it going to break. I didn't understand the function of this thing. The function of that thing is to hook under that so it doesn't fall out of this container. Let's look at this container first, because this container is a foldable kind of a camping style water container, which is quite it's big when it folds out. It's possibly more water than you need. I'm used to working out of a little pill jar when I go out, but it is very handy because it's got this little thing in the side. Wait till I find a brush that's open. I bought these online as well. I wouldn't actually recommend these because they're a very soft one. They're better for watercolor than gouache. It'd be better with synthetic brushes. But it's got a brush holder inside. That's handy when you're out in the field, you see. The brushes can get very lost in the grass and can get bits of muck on them and everything when you're out. And you want to be able to have something on the ground beside you, or on your lap, whatever or way you have it organized, but have your usually only a couple of brushes, maybe two brushes you'd have out normally. Be able to put them upright so they're still loaded with paint. So that's rather handy. Um, so that's your water holder, which gets emptied out afterwards and just folded up again, see, and then the other thing goes back in it. But let's look at the palette. So this came in for me at about, I think it was about €15. So like it'll vary, but if you do any field work, you're going to be interested in looking at something like this. So I thought it was very helpful. People doing videos on it and things. Sorry, I have to hold this in close to me again to get it open. Doesn't want to open. I do have trouble with this, I have to say. Here we go. It just closes very tightly, that little hingy thing over this, which is good because your paints are jelly paints, remember. So they're going to be slopping around a little bit. And if I'm walking when I'm out on expeditions, that could be turning over in my rucksack a little bit. So you could have it like sideways, upside down, and there could be an awful lot of leakage if this isn't airtight. But people online who've used it assure me that it is airtight from various videos and things I watched. So the reason it's airtight is it has this little silicone bit that fits all the different wells for colour. And when you get the colour in there, this fits back over it. And you press it down before you close it. and it's that silicone thing that keeps it airtight. Clever little arrangement. And then this silicone thing, just like any silicone thing that you would cook with, can be washed. So I don't know. I've never used silicone before. I don't know what kind of temperatures they take or anything, but just warm water and warm water and a little bit gentle soap takes off that wash, so that should do it. So basically, what I would do is I have 16. So I can bring 16 colors out with me, which is quite a lot. Let's see what I had available to me in my kit. I know 12 and that. And then I'd normally bring out, I had like a blue. I usually bring out a blue, a black, and my white gouache as well for that. So the one element that isn't, well, I suppose it is in it really, that is your palette. So you've got a little palette there. It's very, very small palette. I would actually bring out, sorry, the palette is dirty at the moment because I'm going to actually finish off a few little tipping in, a few little things on that painting. I'm going to bring out this palette with me probably because it's extremely light and it's not a very big palette. If you look at it in this relation to the size of my hand, that'll go in behind sketch pads and things in my rucksack very happily. And it's physical shape of something and weight of it that I look at in my rucksack. I had to really think about it before I got that shooting stick. Um, but there were other factors to do with that made me get it, and some of the factors were height. So when it stops raining finally and I get a nice morning, I'm going to go out on a field trip and I will do a testing video for you where I test the shooting stick and this little set as well. But I think I'll finish up fairly swiftly today because it was just to show you stuff. Um, but I'll finish up by filling one of the little wells and just to show you how it feels. And yeah, I hope it stops raining soon because like it's a bit sad sitting indoors painting clouds, isn't it? I'm not going to fill up the well totally, even though um somebody online had recommended that to fill it up near to the top. I'm not going to bother because I'd rather when I'm out in the field um just put in what I need for each trip. I like this because it reseals, you see. That's a 100 ml refill. Um, when I'm out in the field, just have enough for what I want. And normally with that big jelly palette, if I want a colour, I'll go into it with a palette knife and then I'll clean the palette knife off on a wet kitchen cloth, so that I'm not getting all the other colours dirty, dipping in with a brush all the time. But with this, when I'm out painting, I don't mind if I'm get the brush is infecting the other colours a little bit because I'm going to get rid of some of the colour when I come home if it's dirty, you know. So I'm not going to keep these filled up to the top because this it'll be very finicky trying to get little tiny bits of colour out with your palette knife for the palette. Now I'll bring the palette knife. It might work. I don't know, but I think you tend to when you're out in the field, um, sketching away. You tend to have like a load of things balanced, right? And you're trying to keep everything near you. And um, I don't, obviously, I'm working with backpacks. I don't have any kind of a table or easel or anything with me. So it's all balancing things in the lap. And you've either got some stuff on the ground, like water on the ground, and having to lean down back and forth. And you tend to have pencils, um, brushes, and everything threatening to slide off your lap into various places. I'm actually thinking I might get a little, some sort of fishing jacket that I don't mind wrecking with paint that I can just pop various bits and bobs into different pockets as I'm working, you know. Um, But like obviously things like water and everything, that's enough to be balancing palette brushes and water um, to keep them near you. Now, having a water brush, which I do have, that you load the brush, I don't know where I put it to show you. Oh, there she is. Look, um, most people will be familiar with these now because they have become very popular. I bring small brushes out as well because my water brush I have, it's rather a large one, but you load the water into it. So, it's handy little brush because you don't have to go back and forward to your water all the time. So that's handy. But that's a handy thing to have. But for fine detail and things, um, you'll have a small brush with you as well, you see. So you'll still need to be going back and forward a little bit. So that's what I would do there. And then, when I'm finished in the field, I'm going to put this back on. I'm going to close the whole shebang up and throw out the water and put this back in. And it's pretty compact, isn't it? That's a pretty compact thing. So whether I like the Jelly Gouache when I'm out, whether I'll be happy with that way of working with them, I don't know. So I'm going to bring my watercolors as well and a couple of pencils, which I normally do anyway when I'm out. I might revert back to this way of working, might be happier with that. Or I might like the Jelly Gouache for that kind of not really finished painting. You're still sketching really with the gouache, but it's in a more painterly way. When I mean in a more painterly way, I mean a more non-watercolor painterly way. And I don't know whether other people are going to say this to you, but it, it tends to be, I think, that I feel like I have the touch, if you like, for acrylic painting and oil painting because I don't have the touch for watercolor because light is made differently in watercolors than it is in gouache or acrylic or whatever because you're adding, like if I add white onto this blue, I get lighter sky. So you're adding the color, whereas with this, if you want whites, you're leaving part of the page white, or else you're going at it with a non-transparent color, and that's why I bring the gouache along with me. Um, but I think that for me, the type of painter I am, this kind of painting makes more sense. You see, this adding the white, a more tonal type of painting than watercolor, possibly. And the excitement for me is that I could do paintings out in the field that do look a bit more going towards finished paintings, so that if I come back in the studio to work up something from it, I'm working with the same um, technique of putting the color on that I was, unlike if I'm working that up into an oil paint, if that makes sense to you. If you've worked with watercolor and then you've worked with um, acrylic or gouache or oil paint as well, you'll probably know what I mean about the difference. So that's it. So I hope you enjoyed looking at that little watercolor travel set that seems to be widely available online, and that's what I'm going to use it for. And so look out for, if the rain ever stops, for a uploaded video of a field trip happening soon, hopefully, because spring is here. And then the next thing that's going to be on will be the Friday live stream. And if you want to see a little bit of me painting that picture with a bit of mad music from Barbara Streisand before she gets cut off in her prime in the middle of the song. That is on the shorts tab. And I'll probably upload that picture later today because I want to upload things on the community tab towards Friday's live stream. Because on Friday, I'll put a few photo references for people to work from if they want to join me in painting Studio Ghibli style clouds, where we are making our own. We're kind of making our own things with them. Like this was started off, this section here started off a Studio Ghibli reference. Sorry, you can't even see that. But then it took off. I started messing around with the clouds. Then I did my own landscape thing and in my own figure. So I'm I'm talking about using those as a starting point for making your own art rather than just copying. They're beautiful. The Studio Ghibli backgrounds are beautiful, and they have made them available to uh, fans to use, basically, as do fan art. But we're sort of doing slightly different thing to fan art in that we're um, as we're working away, we're talking, well, how can we use these to make our own original works of art? With just using them as a starting point to take off from. Is that possible? So my argument would be, yeah, absolutely possible. That you can get great inspiration from them. So that'll be Friday, but I will have some reference photos up for that. You're of course free to go and find your own photo references for that if you want to work along, and you can find out all about clouds. These cumulonimbus clouds seem to be the ones most favoured by Studio Ghibli style um, artists. So you could, if you know the name of that cloud, you look up the name of that cloud online and you get loads of free reference photos to use. Or go outside if you've got those fantastic clouds outside. Try and get photos during the week. It'd be fun. Um, and I won't be using that kit on Friday. I'm saving that for outdoors. That's for my expedition. So we're using the big kit on Friday. And of course, if you don't have that kind of paint, but you have acrylics or oils, it's still perfect for you. So it's all about clouds on Friday. But that's my little kit. And as I say, I will let you know how I get along with that and make a little video that includes me using the shooting stick as well to see if how well that works and what it transports like and all that. Because it's important to get out. If you're doing landscape stuff, get out into the landscape as well, I would argue, because you want to experience it. Go have a picnic on the hill, for yourself, and um, sit there and really experience the whole thing, be in it. So thank you very much for your indulgence. So hopefully you get around to watching this later, and think it was a good idea to share that little gimmicky item with you, nice and small. And I think that'll be a good addition to my kit. Bye bye, and have a good day, whatever.